Hello, welcome to Breakfast All Day. How's it going? I am Christy. That is Matt. That is Alonso. Next up for us is Regina King's feature directing debut. It's called One Night in Miami, and Matt's going to tell us about it.
Yeah, this is based on the play that is kind of a fictionalized account of the what happens the night after or that evening, later in the evening after Cassius Clay, as Muhammad Ali was named at the time, beat Sonny Liston in a fight where Liston was favored 7-1, and after the fight, Clay, aka Muhammad Ali, has a after party with Malcolm X and Jim Brown and Sam Cooke. And this movie kind of posits what they discussed. All four of these men would, be rallying around the struggle in their own different ways, some more obvious than others. And as you can imagine, with characters like that, this would bring up some tensions and some arguments. And this script kind of, delves into what those conversations, could have been. And one of the things Regina King does here is that I think she does a good job getting them out of just the one room and making this feel more like a movie than, say, like a play that's on screen. And this is fascinating. I think you've got some terrific performances in here. You get some information about these folks that you might not have known otherwise, that are true to history. I really, really liked this movie. I was very impressed with it. Partly because I think the performances, especially of a couple people, are terrific. I think Aldis Hodge as Jim Brown is amazing, absolutely amazing, because he really nails kind of Jim Brown's kind of aloof, quiet reserve, and yet like there's, kind of this simmering, angry undercurrent. And I can't remember the actor's name, but the guy playing Ali,
Eli Goree.
Eli Goree.
I think Eli Goree does a better job playing Ali than Will Smith did.
It's tough, right?
It's tough.
Not to be a caricature in it.
Not to be a caricature. I think he nails it. I really, really dug this movie. What did you guys think?
Yeah, I was going to say Kingsley Ben-Adir plays Malcolm X and Leslie Odom Jr. is Sam Cooke, and they're all dynamite.
I was going to say just that exact same thing, just how tough it is for Kingsley Ben-Adir to make his own indelible portrayal of Malcolm X, given that, like, you see, you think Denzel,
right.
It's a crucial Denzel Washington role throughout his career, but he finds his own way into it. Yeah, we talked about last week with Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, we talked about the challenges and also the opportunities in, adapting a play into a film. Kemp Powers wrote the play and also wrote the screenplay. As we talked about earlier, he also co-wrote and directed Soul. This does, like Ma Rainey, though, this does feel like a play on film in the best possible ways, in the energy, in the immediacy of it. And there's such an intimacy with all of them in this room. You do feel like you're a fly on the wall and privy to these conversations. Matt, you mentioned that they argue with each other and they squabble, and they certainly do. But I loved them just like giving each other shit and just laughing and just playing music and singing and just joking around. And you get the sense that like nobody else understands what they're all going through as these highly influential cultural figures in the mid 60s. And that so much is expected of them as Black men in America at this time of great flux and great turmoil, and how much each of them is prepared to rise to the challenge that they're being called upon to rise to. I mean, Malcolm X clearly, of course, was a civil rights leader, but Sam Cooke's evolution over the course of the film is interesting too, and how he doesn't always necessarily know how to use his voice for that purpose. And the others call him out on, you're singing for white folks for money. You're not using your gift the way it should be used. Leslie Odom Jr. is amazing in this because you do get to see him actually on stage singing Sam Cooke songs. The camaraderie is great. Regina King finds great energy within this room. It's never like a staid thing. It feels like it's constantly moving and changing and alive, despite the fact that so much of it takes place in this room.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely, Matt nailed it. As far as a theatrical adaptation goes, she really breathes this sense of life into it where it doesn't feel like they're just tethered to this one location. And it doesn't ever feel like she's doing it in a way that isn't organic to what they would be doing over the course of an evening. So that's really exciting. Kingsley Ben-Adir, I think part of what makes his Malcolm get to stand apart from Denzel's is that, yeah, they do, these guys, while they are having a serious conversation, also know each other well enough to goof on each other. Like there's a part where somebody takes Malcolm X's camera and they're playing keep away with it. He's like, hey, give me my camera back. And it's like, we don't ever see that side of this like super serioso, iconic figure of history. So the movie is very canny in kind of taking the sort of human element and then also the what makes all of these people larger than life in their own way. Yeah, I found it really captivating. The whole thing with Sam Cooke reminded me of when I interviewed Charles Nelson Riley for The Advocate.
Cool. Oh.
And we talked about like sort of, gay advocacy and politics and stuff. And he goes, I'm good friends with Ossie Davis and Ruby Dee, and they're the first to lead the parade and to be out there and hold the signs. He goes, and then you look at somebody like Marian Anderson, and Marian Anderson's method of speaking out for Black people was to sing in a beautiful gown with beautiful jewels with a white piano player, and so it's like I think there are different ways to sort of get those messages across, and the movie is very smart about, because it's really easy to take, this is a popular theatrical conceit. Let's put historical figure A and historical figure B in a room and let them talk about their lives and what they stand for. And in this one, it never feels like we're just sort of watching these kind of cardboard cutouts. These feel like four guys who also happen to be these major figures in the culture.
Right. Well, it's never like heavy-handed, like we're being preached to. It never feels like an eat your vegetables movie. No. And the scene that you mentioned with them taking Malcolm X's camera away, I like that they call him out on the fact that his voice changes, right? And it becomes more like colloquial.
Right. They're like, oh, there's Red.
Right. And like, oh, that's the guy we know. Okay. And not him being like, this larger than life, pioneering figure. So it just feels like even, of course it's fictionalized, but it feels like a really fascinating kind of peek into these lives.
One of the things I really appreciate about Kemp Powers' script, and there's a lot of this in the play too, is that as much as there's an argument between, especially between Malcolm X and Sam Cooke, it doesn't really come down too hard on one side. Like I think it does take pains to show how they each think that they're making their own contribution. And their arguments that they have about whether or not it works or whether or not, say, Cooks do, are in line with what these folks would be believing. And they cover ground that you hear so infrequently, right? Like you very rarely, I feel like you very rarely outside of I feel like we very rarely hear what Jim Brown brings up, which is, him saying that there's even the dichotomy between, and this separation between more light skin and dark skin Black people. That's something that is organic to the story that they're having, that they're telling here. And there's a good supporting cast, even though they don't necessarily get a ton to do. The brother Kareem, who's like head of security, played by
Lance Reddick.
Lance Reddick is great because he projects this menace that is, and look, like we know Lance Reddick, but he projects this menace and yet is totally separate and totally an outsider to the core four people that we see, and when Ali brings up the idea of, look, there's so few people that I can talk to about this who are successful and are Black and are rich. And, and at that time he's right. And it shows the difference in where where most of them are staying versus where Sam Cooke is booked at the Fontainebleau. There's a lot going on here. I absolutely loved it. Also, the wardrobe in this is terrific.
Oh, the production design is just delicious.
Yeah, and the fight scene, like we get early on in the movie, we get the fight between Clay and Liston. that's really well staged. It's really well shot. And, you know, you get to see, I was impressed with Eli Goree dancing around like Ali does, right? And like moving the way Ali did in the room. I mean, in the ring. Yeah, I'm really impressed with this, and was really, I think a lot of it goes to Regina King, not just shooting, like not just making the room feel interesting and finding all these different camera angles, and you don't feel like you're trapped in there, but also, you know, shooting things like the match and shooting things like, you know, one of the scenes in one of the temples late in the film. Yeah.
For a first film for Regina King to take on not just a film play, which is its own minefield, but to throw in like a boxing sequence and musical sequences and all this other stuff. It's like, she is really like taking a lot on for a first time and nailing it really well. I also want to throw out real quick, you know, one of the things that bugged me about The Boys in the Band that Netflix had this year was that they throw in these little kind of pre and post scripts to the original text that just felt added on and didn't really seem like they added anything to it. Whereas this movie gives us moments before and moments after that I suspect are not in the play. I don't know for a fact, but that feel completely organic and I think actually enrich everything else that we're seeing.
Yes, it's very good. So I'm saying 8.
Yeah, I'm also giving it an 8.
I forgot.
You also said 8.
I said 8. Okay.
Our number
well,
is
that's
an
some
8.
tough math.
So this, thank you. Every once in a while, it's easy. So this also is playing theatrically, but will stream
on Amazon Prime. Yeah, it's an Amazon film, so they should have it hopefully.
Yeah, so this one's right. This one's complicated. So if you are in Miami, you can watch it this weekend. It will be in theaters on January 8th. In a limited theatrical run, probably LA, New York. Well, probably not LA, but in a few places around the country. And then on the 11th, it'll be available for streaming on Amazon Prime. So
just wait for that.
Yeah, but this is totally, absolutely worth watching. I think it's terrific.
Great.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out on the social media at BeFastAllDay, and follow our follow our Patreon account rather at BeFastAllDay at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. Lots of fun exclusive stuff for our subscribers. We hope you'll check it out. Happy holidays, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.